Good evening and welcome to LCM TV News at 18 hours. I'm Stella Mbewe. Here are the headlines. President Hakainde Hichilema pays tribute to Zambia's workers. Vice President opens Africa Regional Nursing Conference. Government and Lungu families sign consent order on former president's remains. And in international news, Israel faces global criticism over Gaza aid interception. And in sports, Copper Queens drawn against Uganda in Olympic qualifiers. We now take a short break. Join me with the news in details after this.
Are you looking for the best aerial cinematography to capture your environment from above in 4K? Well, look no further. At LCM TV, we've got you covered with our professional drone and pilot that will enable you to shoot from unique perspectives. We deliver breathtaking shots with different recording modes such as photos, videos, panorama, time-lapse, and many more. For more info, contact the numbers on your screen. Get the best area shots with LCM TV.
President Hakainde Hichilema has paid tribute to Zambia's workers, stating that the country's development is driven not by speeches, but by the daily efforts of ordinary citizens. In a Labor Day message to the nation, the president said from traders in Kasumbalesa to miners in Karulushi, teachers in Mongu, and nurses in Petauke, Zambia's economy is sustained by hardworking individuals whose contributions often go unnoticed. He acknowledged that workers have faced difficult conditions over the years, including job losses, unstable wages, and the collapse of key industries. However, the president noted that over the past 4 years, government efforts have focused on stabilizing the economy, restructuring debts, and restoring investor confidence. He cited the reopening of Mulungushi Textiles in Kabwe as a key milestone, saying it has created jobs and revitalized the cotton value chain, benefiting thousands of farmers. The president also pointed to new investments such as shopping mall and hotel in Kasama, which are helping to create jobs outside Lusaka. He further highlighted the Migomba mining project in Chililabombwe as a major investment expected to boost employment in the mining sector. Despite these developments, President Hichilema admitted that challenges remain, including low wages, difficult working conditions in some sectors. He assured workers that government remains committed to improving livelihood and ensuring fair rewards for labor. More in the following report.
The leaders of labor, starting with the ZCTU President, Mr. Mulala, and indeed all your colleagues, International Labour, ILO, and all of your colleagues that are present here today. Let me acknowledge also the employers through Madam Goma. And thank you for your messages, both the labor and employers, because the two are sides of the same coin. And I'll say one or two things about that. Let me acknowledge, I know within ZCTU there's a diversity of unions. Just to emphasize that, through Mr. Mulala, I am acknowledging all of you. And the employers are diverse. Through Mrs. Ngoma, I recognize all of you. recognize all of you. I want to give a special recognition to Abena Bakasensa, our traditional leaders that are present, who host the subjects, our citizens, in their chiefdoms. We appreciate your presence here. We know you are busy, but you found time to come here. To Ato Teranga and Shimkwai for your presence here. Let me also acknowledge various workers, from different institutions. Some marched here, starting late morning into this afternoon. Thank you for being present. Thank you for putting an effort. Of course, practicing your marching, spending your valuable time, because you also have responsibilities not just at work, but at your families, in your families. You have to take care of your families. We appreciate that. The people of Chinsali, people of Muchinga that are present here today, we give you a special recognition. Media, thank you for being evergreen, available all the time.
Vice President Mtale Nalumango says government is committed to reducing the backlog of unemployed nurses while improving healthcare service delivery. She made the remarks when she officially opened the Nurses Christian Fellowship International Africa Region Conference. Mrs. Nalumango emphasized the need to enhance career progression for healthcare workers, noting that equitable access to healthcare depends on dedication of nurses and midwives. Meanwhile, Health Minister Dr. Alex Katakwe praised healthcare workers for their critical role, especially in maternal care, describing the profession as a calling that requires dedication and sacrifice. At the same time, Nurses Christian Fellowship International President Anne Bairo said the organization aims to connect nurses globally to share knowledge and promote excellence. Zambian Nurses Christian Fellowship Chairperson Boniface Vesa added that the conference has attracted delegates from several countries, including the United Kingdom, Canada, Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Uganda, and Eswatini. More in this report. The Energy Regulation Board, ERB, has announced an increase in fuel prices for May 2026, citing rising global oil prices. ERB Board Chairperson James Banda said diesel has increased to 33.99 kwacha per litre from 29.78 kwacha, while kerosene now costs 35.05 kwacha per litre, up from 32.26 kwacha. Jet A1 fuel has also risen to 37.98 kwacha per litre from 34.74 kwacha. However, the price of petrol remains unchanged at 27.15 kwacha per litre, as price movements were within the allowable threshold. Mr. Banda attributed the increases to rising international oil prices driven by geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. Government says it is intensifying efforts to address ongoing power shortages affecting households and businesses across the country. Energy Minister Makoze Chikote explained that low water levels in major reservoirs have significantly affected electricity generation, prompting the need for diversified energy resolutions. He said several solar energy projects are currently under development and are expected to add capacity to the national grid in the near future. He also noted that government is working closely with independent power producers to boost electricity generation. The minister has since urged citizens and businesses to adopt energy-saving practices as the country works towards long-term energy stability. Government and the family of 6th Republican President Edgar Lungu have signed a consent order regarding the custody of his remains. Attorney General Mulilo Kabesha said the agreement nullifies an earlier court order and establishes a new arrangement. He explained that the remains will be held by Avbob Funeral Services in Pretoria, South Africa, with costs covered by the Zambian government pending conclusion of ongoing legal proceedings. Mr. Kabesha said the family will continue to have access to the remains in line with a previous High Court order. He added that government remains committed to resolving the matter amicably to ensure a dignified burial for the former president. More in this report, credit of TRT Africa.
By agreement between the parties, the applicants and the fourth respondents, the body of the late President Edgar Lungu shall forthwith be placed in the care of Avbob, Pretoria East, the cost of which shall be borne by the government of Zambia. In the event of refusal by Avbob to accept the appointment, the court shall make the appointment of the mortuary. 3. The order in paragraph 2 above shall operate pending the finalization of the appeal under case number 1024/2025 in the Supreme Court of Appeal. We probably need to know by the close of business today.
Yes. In this matter, by agreement between the parties, the draft order which was handed up, which I've marked with an X dated and initialed, is made an order of court with the proviso that paragraph 6 of the draft order is struck out so that there is no order as to costs. Thank you. I express my appreciation to the parties for resolving this matter in the manner that they did. I do not think it's in the interest of the parties to continue litigating pending the appeal process.
And now, for purposes of moving on ahead, it is important that the order that was given by Judge Ledwaba is respected. Over and above that, we have agreed on a mutually agreed mortuary where the remains will be, with access only limited to the family. And if any other person wishes to have access to the body, they ought to make an application to the court with notice being given to the applicants in this particular matter, so that we could have a say for whatever purpose that they may think they need the body for. We are happy that we're able to get to this point, though it's a painful process for the family. It has been a very painful process. The family is in grief, more so that there was a postmortem that was conducted without an order of the court, without the presence of any family member. Even the movement of the body from Two Mountains, there was no family member that was present.
We now go for a commercial break. Still ahead, international sports news. Stay tuned.
Lishima Classic Media. We can brand your brand. From backdrops to roll-up banners, vinyl and PVC banners, gazebo tents, t-shirt printing, flag banners, business cards. Get branded with Lishima Classic Media today, because here at Lishima Classic Media, we're doing it the right way.
Join LCM TV channel, live every Tuesday with court news updates. On Thursday, we go live with environmental updates. Catch us every Saturday as we go live in your community. News on the go with LCM channel. Doing it the right way.
Governance Space every Thursday at 21 hours on LCM TV. We bring your leaders to account and explain things that they will do for you. Catch the discussion 21 hours on LCM TV. LCM TV, doing it the right way.
Israel has faced international condemnation after intercepting Gaza-bound aid vessels in international waters and detaining hundreds of passengers, including journalists. World leaders, human rights organizations, and media groups have called for the immediate release of those detained. More in this report, credit of Al Jazeera.
مستقل لتوثيق هذا الاعتداء في أن يكسر هذا الحصار ومع ذلك فلسطيني أصل الفرجة ديمقراطية
Sumut filosu sadece bir yardım misyonu değil, aynı zamanda var olan vahşetin küresel anlamda birleşmiş vicdana karşı direnemeyeceğini sembolize ediyor.
This is what we need today. Not enough people are talking about this global Samud flotilla. This is the largest peaceful, non-violent flotilla, humanitarian flotilla to Palestine. We have over 70 boats sailing to Palestine. And last night, we witnessed a snapshot of Israel's year-long campaign of slaughter, of dehumanization, of starvation of the Palestinian people. We witnessed just a snapshot of that on the Mediterranean Sea when they abducted and kidnapped 160 of my comrades here on the Mediterranean Sea. They came onto our boats, they destroyed our engines, they destroyed our sails, they prevented our comrades to continue to sail when we know that there is a major storm forecasted coming tomorrow. This is unprecedented. 1,050 kilometers from Palestine, they're doing this in the middle of the Mediterranean. Where is Europe? Where are the leaders of the world? Why are we not talking about this more?
In another development, the United States says it has seized $450 million in Iranian cryptocurrency assets as part of efforts to weaken Iran's economy. We've monitored Al Jazeera.
Iran signals defiance as the US seizes $500 million in crypto assets, and the standoff in the Strait could last months as the price of oil gets higher and higher. But are US taxpayers footing the bill for a war without an end? Here's what you need to know.
Now they have to cry uncle. That's all they have to do. Just say, we give up. We give up. But their economy is really in trouble. It's a dead economy.
No more Mr. Nice Guy. That's the latest post from US President Donald Trump. 2 months into a war that killed thousands, displaced millions, and shocked the global economy. A war that he chose to start. And while a ceasefire remains in place and mediation efforts continue, the stalemate in the Strait of Hormuz could become our new reality. Trump has rejected Iran's latest proposal to end the war and is considering instead a months-long blockade of Iran's ports. His Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, says $450 million in Iran's cryptocurrency assets were seized by the US as a maximum pressure sanctions campaign tries to sink its economy. Iran's government has continued to hold rallies in the capital almost every night, dismissing US threats and saying they won't allow division to be sown within the country. But there is a quiet crackdown happening in the background. The The UN says 21 people have been executed and 4,000 arrested in Iran since the US-Israeli war began. At least 9 were executed in relation to widespread anti-government protests that rocked the country in January. Many others were charged with espionage or treason since the outbreak of the war in late February.
We are appalled that on top of the already severe impacts of the devastating Israeli-US attacks on Iran, the rights of the Iranian people continue to be stripped from them by the authorities in harsh and brutal ways.
In a fiery congressional hearing, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was asked to justify the spiraling costs of the war. The Pentagon estimates at least $25 billion was spent in the last 2 months, mostly on munitions. But some reports say the true cost is much higher and doesn't account for the damage sustained by US bases in the region. But Hegseth was dismissive of criticism. Instead, he wants a record $1.5 trillion defense budget next year.
The president has got himself and America stuck in the quagmire of another war in the Middle East. He's desperately trying to extricate himself from his own mistakes.
You should know better. Calling this a quagmire 2 months in. The effort, what they've undertaken, what they've succeeded, the success on the battlefield that could create strategic opportunities, the courage of a president to confront a nuclear Iran, and you call it a quagmire, handing propaganda to our enemies?
And as the US prepares for a prolonged naval blockade, the price of oil briefly reached $122 a barrel, its highest since the conflict began. In the US, average gasoline prices hit $4.22 a gallon, a 40% rise since the war began. Meanwhile, Israel has been busy enforcing a naval blockade of its own. More than 1,000 kilometers away from its coast, Israeli forces intercepted dozens of boats from the global Samud flotilla, trying to break Israel's siege and deliver aid to Gaza. That's it from me today. Stay with us on Al Jazeera for all your updates in the war on Iran.
And finally, in sports news, the Zambia women's national football team, the Copper Queens, have been drawn against Uganda in the second round of the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic qualifiers. Zambia is among 29 teams that received a bye into the second round due to their higher ranking. The Copper Queens will face Uganda over 2 legs, scheduled between 5th and 13th October. The winner will advance to face either Ghana or the winner between Mauritius and Djibouti. The qualification process will run until December 2027, with only 2 African teams qualifying for the Olympic Games. To end the news, here is a recap of the stories making headlines. President Hichilema pays tribute to Zambia's workers. Vice President opens Africa Regional Nursing Conference. Government and Lungu families sign consent order. Copper Queens drawn against Uganda. That brings us to the end of our bulletin. On behalf of the entire production crew, my name is Stella